Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, the Kaiserreich mod. An alt-universe, very heavy conversion of the game, where the German Empire basically won World War I, and syndicalist, sort of hyper-communist something. I don't know exactly how they differ from, you know, like the Soviet-type communism, but have taken over in both Great Britain, France, and maybe a couple other places, I'm not sure. Are they in a... No, Great Britain's not actually in a faction, which is interesting. Our public work national focus just finished, which is great. Our political power is at exactly 0 right now, so at least there's that. Now the question continues, do we continue to go and work on some national focuses or not? And I think the answer is very much yes. In particular, if we do finish the King's Speech right now, we can get a huge boost to our political power and give us a good margin going forward. It only takes 28 days to complete as well, which I think is good. So King George V has died, so Edward VIII, I want to say, has taken over. He's also not going to be abdicating this time, so we're going to get a different line of inheritance than previously. I mean, we could go right into this, you know, the various industrial and infrastructure stuff, but I think it's very important to do the King's Speech. In particular, if we can keep going down here, we can get rid of our divided parliament, a divided country kind of modifier, which is really, really hurting our political power. So let's King's Speech it up. It's going to be great, and get it going. Now, ooh, the remilitarization of Oltenia. I like, it's no more than the Romanians walking into their own backyard. Can we get a nice little angle over here? There we go. The Treaty of Bucharest in 1918 officially ended the Weltkrieg for Romania, but at a high cost. The nation is now dominated by German and Austrian industries. Oltenia was demilitarized and the oil fields were leased to Germany up to the distant year of 2012. The distant year of 2012. The humiliation Romania endured resulted in it devolving into a national populist dictatorship. Who's ever heard of anything like that happening? Led by the conducator, Cornelia Codreanu, probably. Codreanu and his Iron Guard set out to restore Romania to what they say it should have been, a titan of the Balkans. The first major move conducted by the conductor is the remilitarization of Oltenia, a strategic region in Wallachia with large oil reserves and military industry. I'm sure this is fine. It's not going to lead to any chaos anywhere. The Queen Mary Way was done. This is part of the previous national focus. King Edward, oh, it's the 7th, sorry. Today officially opened the Queen Mary Way, a limited access highway connecting Toronto to Niagara Falls via Hamilton. Named for the Queen Mother, the QMW is the first limited access highway in North America. Southern Ontario adds to infrastructure. Cool. So we got that going on. So highway from here to here. The death of Pius IX. The Italian Federation mourns the death of His Holiness Pope Pius IX. Alright, I don't think I'm going to read all the flavor text on this one. Maybe we'll focus a little bit more on things that we figure has probably a higher impact on us. You can always pause if you want to read all the flavor text. I gotta save my voice at some point. How many planes do we actually have in reserve is what I would like to know. 100 fighters. No close air support currently. Got some TAC bombers and some strategic bombers. Okay. That's not actually too shabby. Don't have much in the way of equipment in place. And yeah, I'm not going to be importing anything right now. We need all of our factories. So we may as well kick the speed up to the next level. First International Congress. What is this one? Oh! Representatives of the numerous syndicalists. I'm going to hiss, because that's a mature way to handle this. And socialist nations have gathered in Paris today in what might just be a defining moment in the history of ideologies. The French Commune has invited numerous countries to the first official gathering of the members of the Third International to discuss political, foreign matters and cooperate on spreading socialism further. The French opened the International with a powerful parade, festivities in Paris, and finally a speech by the chairman of the CSP. Topics like Spain, the United States, and the world economic crisis are at the top priority, and it's expected that France and Britain will take initiative in the gathering. Bastards. Bishop criticizes military priorities. Bishop demands that more money and manpower be spent on modernizing the Air Force. He has a detailed plan as it seems it could work, but this will take resources from other projects. So I believe they're talking about Billy Bishop here. Yeah, William Avery Bishop, which, if I recall correctly, was a World War I flying ace who's also responsible for training up a lot of pilots in World War II in real life. And Toronto City Airport, so not Pearson International, but Toronto City Airport, is Billy Bishop Airport. So we've got a choice. We can trust his methods. So it gives us a bonus to air doctrine research 1 time. It tanks our manpower a fair bit, although 15,000 men is not necessarily the end of the world one way or another in the long run once we change our policies. Gives us airbase construction speed for 4 months. We gain a person which we can probably put in place in our government. Nova Scotia gets an airbase and we lose a bunch of political power. I'm not feeling it. Option 2 is the Air Force will get no more of a priority, which gives us political power and manpower. Chief of Air Bishop and William Avery Bishop. William Avery, which grants Chief of Air Force, Air Superior Doctrine. It's hard to sort this exactly. Is it possible that Gaines William Avery Bishop is actually like a national perk that's going to linger and give us bonuses in addition to giving us an option for Chief of Air Force? I suspect it just gives us an option to hire someone. Anyway, I'm going to go for option number 2. The manpower will, again, long run, maybe not make much of a difference, but it's still there. The political power will be quite handy early on. I don't know. We're playing for the early game here right now with that choice. Turkestan Khanate declared war on the Alash Orda. Okay. I don't know what those things are. How you doing, U.S.? No national focus. You're just trying to accrue some political power. You might even have like negative political power and be worried about it. We're still decreasing right now, but we've got a nice buffer. When the King's Speech finishes, we'll get a whole bunch of points. Electronic mechanical engineering is done. We'll go for the next research time decrease. Seems like a good investment right now. That's not ahead of time or anything, right? No, that's got no date. Okay. The King's Speech natural focus is done, which gives us an event. The Heir Apparent. All right. With his father dead, Edward, the Prince of Wales, will be coronated King Emperor of the British Empire. 2 large factions within the Canadian political sphere has coalesced. One led by the Prime Minister, who seeks to develop and refine Canada's industrial strength and harvest its resources over foreign policy, and the other led by R.B. Bennett and his supporters in the British diaspora, who wish to mobilize the Canadian economy to launch an invasion of the Union of Britain in the near future, even if that means accelerating arms production at the expense of civil liberties. The Prince of Wales is popular in both French and English Canada, and his views may very well sway the opinions of others. He could prove to be vulnerable to the arguments of either group, depending on how well they make their case for him. Which sign do we go for? So there's a couple of different, I don't know, ways we can go overall governmentally. Certainly, I want to push for the idea of retaking the British Home Isles, because I think that would be a great thematic thing. But one of the questions is, do we do it while still having a strong parliament, or do we do it by abolishing the parliament completely and moving to a pure, monarchy? Both are very interesting, and when we start drafting Bill C-7, we're going to make a lot of decisions with that in mind. So it's sort of a big question. Now, in terms of the choices here, we could endorse Bennett and the Exiles. Do we not get any tooltip information for this? Apparently not. That's interesting. So we could endorse Bennett and the Exiles. Yes, it's important to retake the Home Isles, and we will dedicate Canada's industry to the war machine. Listen to the elected Privy Councillors, announces support for the Prime Minister, best not to commit to either side yet. I'm going to endorse Bennett and the Exiles. Now, that still doesn't mean we're necessarily going to move to a pure monarchy. But it certainly, is a hint that way. The Prince has sided with the Conservatives and has decided to make war with the Union of Britain, an important part of his coronation speech. Make the preparations for a grand coronation. The King's radio address. The King has spoken to the nation and has electrified it. From Vancouver to St. John, from Toronto to the Arctic, Canadians everywhere buzz with excitement after hearing a charismatic and forceful speech denouncing syndicalism and the King's pledge to finish the war that his father began and reclaim Britain. Canadians were warned to never trust the Union of Britain or its insidious syndicalist allies. We must liberate our brothers in Britain. So the Union of Britain gains call to liberation of Britain. So we're getting huge opinion bonus penalties with the syndicalists in Britain, France, Italy, and the Combined Syndicates of America, which aren't, I think, a country yet, but they're still not going to have a good relationship with them. So there's that. Now, the 2UC, oh, in the Union of Britain, so some government changes there. Okay, fair enough. So we can pick a new national focus at this point. Interesting questions to go with, because we've unlocked a lot of options now over here. Everything on this line is now available. More industry, more faster is always good. I mean, I don't care about necessarily rushing air bases or the air research, although it then leads to like more natural resources, which is stupid good. More infrastructure is okay because it's going to speed up construction, and again leads to more free factories, more free infrastructure, then more resources over here. Found the CBC gives us more national unity, helps to defend us against foreign subversive activities, which is okay. Gives us a little bit of political power, which is also okay. But more importantly, leads to another research slot, plus a permanent 5% discount to research. Obviously really, really potent. On the other hand, working our way down here becomes incredibly important to get rid of like the disunified government. So this could sort of divide a government here, and I think over... I think the right branch never... Oh, no, there we go. So we can get divided government go away here or here, but through completely different routes. Either we keep the parliament or we abolish it. Now, if we go down the left route here, mandatory enrollment in the cadet corps, we get 3% recruitable population, which is a massive change. I mean, Canada's base population isn't that high, but that's going to make a huge difference. Notice that this route requires that the bill does not pass. So I know it looks like the decision is here, but it's not here. The decision is actually when we do this, we're going to get a series of choices in terms of what we put into this bill, and then at the end we get to choose whether or not the bill passes or not. And that is what's going to choose which branch we go down. And I'm very, very, very torn. I'm wondering about delaying it. This is quite nice, because this gets us the shared tech thing with everyone in our faction. It only takes 35 days to do as well. Like, it might be worth... that is a lot of army experience as well. That's tons. And I don't remember what the field marshal does, but I think it gives us a choice. It might be worth just quickly getting the tech stuff and then coming back over here. You know what? We should just go full monarchy. We're the goddamn king. Right? Right. Okay, let's go with that. So since we know we're going to go down we're going to abolish the parliament. We're going to establish, like, the monarchy as the, you know, the head of the country, period. Done. So that means we have to have the bill fail. Okay, the bill is going to fail. We'll get a choice. Once we get started on this, which doesn't take very long, we'll be asked a series of questions. And some questions will give you big long-term bonuses, but have some costs and things like that that are immediate. Since we know we're not going to be passing the bill, we're going to be making our decisions in the bill based on things that don't cost us very much right now. Coronation of the Prince of the People. That's right. The new king has been invested with the royal regalia in the First Anglican Church of Ottawa. Jubilant crowds from all over Canada gather in cities to celebrate the new age of Canadian royalty. They eagerly anticipate the new king's first radio address to the nation, which we've already done. Actually, potential increase in stability. Yeah. So we have positive political stability, so we might actually get a boost. So our stability over here. Can we see what the bonuses are if we went... Yeah, so if we went to good stability, we'd get a 5% boost to output and require less consumer goods. So, now have the chance to improve our stability. We must do so manually. So it goes down automatically, but to go up, you push the button over here. Do note, you risk rapidly losing all your positive stability levels if you ever go under 0 political power, so make sure your country's actually going to stay stable. So, we're going to not spend it for now. I'm going to wait until we've gotten rid of the divided government, and then we'll know we're going to stay positive. Arming the nation. The King's ascension marks the beginning of a new era. The ad hoc and difficult task of strengthening Canadian industry, integrating the Royal Navy, and finding a place for hundreds and thousands of British exiles has been a trying test for Canada. But we have survived the initial storm. We are stronger now, but now we must refine our strengths so that they will equal those of the other great powers. The Prime Minister and his government are therefore putting together a comprehensive security and military bill that will address the various national interests facing Canada. The legislation will be known as Bill C-7. So, we can have the bill authored solely by the Liberal Party, or we can make it a bipartisan effort. So, we'll say bipartisan because we're leaning conservative and loyalist. Alright, when the Great War began, the British Prime Minister Herbert Asquith said that industry would proceed as business as usual. The ensuing shell crisis and the difficulty found in equipping the British Army has shown us that if another war were to start, we need a mobilized war economy. However, most businessmen aren't willing to invest in specialized facilities such as heavy bomber factories that such an economy would require. Some Conservative MPs are proposing that part of the security bill include a provision to immediately nationalize such key war industries. While this wouldn't increase the size of our industrial capacity, it would cut down on a lot of red tape. C.D. Howe, the Minister of Munitions, argues that the government subsidizes the creation of such industries that entrepreneurs would lease at very preferable rates and provide the labor which would increase the number of factories, but limit their efficiency by working with the private sector. Some MPs are arguing for a compromise where the government will nationalize the specialized industries that require a great deal of sophistication, while subsidizing the more basic ones already in place. So, subsidize, compromise, nationalize. I'm going to nationalize. We're going to be very, very, very different. The Muklik declared war on Mongolia. Good for them. We have things. We can modify the government. Oh, we have free factories. Shit, that's something I have to deal with right away. I'm going to build another civilian factory. Over there. Okay. Mr. Stanley Baldwin resigns. Today, influential figure in pre-revolutionary Britain. Is this... Yeah. Okay, wait. Is it 7th or 8th? It was 7th. Yeah, it is 8th. There was Edward VII in one of the pop-ups, but I think it was a typo. In which Edward VIII notified the Prime Minister of his intention to marry the mistress, Princess Isabel of Orleans. While it's true that the Prime Minister opposed the idea of marriage on the ground of religion of the King's love interest and the fact that His Majesty's father did not agree with his son's marriage with the princess back in 1930, after the death of her first husband, sources close to the royal court indicate that the real reason of resignation lies in new King ignoring Mr. Baldwin's advice in favor of Winston Churchill and Lord Beaverbrook, formerly ministers in Lord Curzon's government. Edward VIII accepted the resignation, and later this day appointed Lord Beaverbrook as new Prime Minister of Government in Exile. Real power still lies in the hand of PM King. Organize the army. Conscript every able-bodied male. The Tories make a convincing argument for once. Ooh. Okay. No conscription. Better conditions. Again, we don't want to take something that gives us political power hit because we're not actually going to be passing this bill. We could take this. I don't know. I'll say this, although I think that's part of the bill itself, so I don't think it's going to matter since it's not going to pass. I think I could just hit this button. I'm betting if this passes, it just changes a ton of your laws for free for you. I'm just hit this button. Yeah, we get the political power right away, so that's good. Still not going to modify the government quite yet, though. Domestic security. Ooh, secret police. If we're going to do that. Tories want to crack down on these groups. Which one? Conflict between Anglo-Canadians and British exiles is growing. Some of this has led to the development of several groups calling for the rapprochement with the Union of Britain. Tories want to crack down on these groups and propose a new parliamentary committee formed with executive power over the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and new civilian intelligence agency with Conservative MP Robert Mannion as its chairman. Such a committee would be the first of its kind in Canada and would cut back on many civil liberties and union rights. Ernest Lapointe, the Solicitor General, suggested that some symbolic laws be passed to bring some of the Tories on side and that a weaker committee be created with Louis Saint Laurent as the chairman. While the Progressives are adamant that no infringement of the civil rights take place, however, the issue is clear. Canada must reorganize and streamline its overly bureaucratic security forces. No secret police, we're all Canadians are in it together. Saint Laurent is a good man. Let's oversee the overhaul. Remove all security minister ideas from the Dominion of Canada. Gain Louis Saint Laurent, which grants to security minister, market liberals, da 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 da. That would hurt us political power or hurt us even more. but give us characters that we could use later on for things. No secret police. Again, I don't know. I guess I would presumably still get these things. Maybe I would still get all these even if we don't draft the bill, even if it doesn't go through. I have no idea. Some of these things are not entirely clear to me. But I'm going to keep going with it. There we go. They've wiped peace out. That's that war over there. So we're no longer in a war, you guys. We helped. Okay, so the national focus is done. And now the Parliament votes on the final draft. And we have to choose whether the bill passes. If we do, we gain political power. We get some military factories. And there's the national spirits, which are a result of some of the things we chose, right? The economic plan, for the Tory economic plan, which gives more factory output and efficiency cap. And because I think we didn't take the, we chose the option that no conscription, it gives us the quality training, which makes our divisions have more organization. Presumably, the other options might give us just more manpower. But we're going to say the bill doesn't pass. Today, the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition, R.B. Bennett, was summoned for an informal meeting with King Edward VIII at his residence in Ottawa. What was discussed there is not yet known, but Bennett was reported to have organized a meeting of his shadow cabinet soon after. We can suggest the King has lost support in the Liberals and supports Bennett. So the Liberals are currently in charge of the government, but we can have the King decide to put the Conservatives, the Tories, in charge, or we can say we've had enough of this democratic process. So, okay. If we choose option number 1, we still have a parliament, but the Conservatives are in charge. If we choose option number 2, that, I believe, is where we can abolish the parliament. King has discarded this democracy. The King has had enough of this democratic process. That's the thing, we could still go down this route, even having discarded Bill C7. Abolish Parliament. Let's do it. It's fine. Let's just go for it. So yeah, it's a good thing we kept a little bit of a political power buffer in there, because apparently we needed it over here. Ooh, some new production tech and machine tools all finishing up. We're going to go with concentrated industry is going to be fine. And I like, yeah, the reinforcement rate is quite nice for aggro stuff. We may as well go ahead and grab that now. It's going to be A-okay. How are things in the U.S.? Political crisis. Those poor fools. So their election is in November, right? The American election? I think so. And presumably that's what kind of caused... Oh no! Another country falls to the syndicalist menace. Poland. The Polish Socialist Republic, because I think it was the Kingdom of Poland before. Complete collapse of the Polish government following the Black Monday disaster. Poland found itself in complete anarchy with many different political factions vying for power in the vacuum of the Old Kingdom. The fighting has come to a close today as the syndicalist forces claim victory, announcing their complete control of the country from the chambers of the defunct Regency Council. The international community has reacted with shock as a formerly conservative government of the kingdom has been replaced with a radical syndicalist government seemingly overnight. Time will tell how this bodes for Europe. New England and Canada. After the British Revolution collapsed the American economy, upstate New York and the states east of it reoriented towards Canada to preserve their economies. Too conservative for syndicalism, but too moderate for America first, New England has become isolated from the rest of the United States and is now effectively in Ottawa's sphere of influence. Joseph Kennedy, representing the political and business elite of the region, quietly informed us today that should the worst come to pass and the government in Washington prove unable to defend them, the state governments would allow Canadian troops to garrison in them. Well, we'd be... Let's hope it doesn't come to that. But, you know, if need be, I suppose we might be able to send some armed troops into New England. I mean, temporarily, of course. Manpower, modified government, insufficient resources. Social reforms in Italy, more moderates. All right. So yeah, I'm still okay with finishing this. Once this finishes in Quebec, though, what are we going to do? Do we want revolution in Siam? Okay, good for them. Do we want more industry at the front? This, or infrastructure. We actually are pretty infrastructure-ish. I mean, especially in Southern Ontario. where our capital is and everything. I don't know. I feel like we're pretty okay. We might want to bring us up to a 5 across here just to make it a little easier to swing some people through here. But I think we've got some infrastructure ideas, so I'm not really feeling the pressure too much. In terms of naval bases, Nova Scotia, it's not a 10, but it's 6 is not bad for now. We might want to buff that out, but I don't think that's a priority. I think like more factories is the question. The question is, do we build more civilian factories or do we start on military? Well, I'm going to suggest that right now, what's the point in having more military factories when we don't have the trade goods to support them? So I will, in fact, queue up another civilian factory after this, because they'll always be useful. Abolish the Parliament has now passed. Liberal dissent. Outraged at the abolition of the Parliament, Liberals and Democrats have called for strikes and taken to the streets in protest. How shall we respond? So we're going to have Liberal dissent for 540 days. 30% penalty to construction speed, 10% less national unity, huge drop in recruitable population, and we've got a static daily political power cost that we can't avoid. We have 0 manpower at this time because of all the national dissent. However, we can continue down this, and I think at this point, you know what? What are we going to do? Change our minds? Heck no. Purge the disloyal opposition. Boom. I mean, it worked for the Soviet Union. It's bound to work for us. Low popularity. The civilian support for the ruling government has reached a low level, which influences our political power. Opposition is strong enough to form coalitions against us, forcing us to consult and compromise with them. This is bad. So we're going to go from medium popularity to low popularity. I think we've got to reopen this for it to refresh. Yep. So we're getting fewer points. Liberal dissent. Well, hey, things could be worse. We do still have a lot of political power. We're losing it pretty quick. Good stability. I'm just worried there's going to be, like, if we take it, we're going to lose some points. I'm worried that we might drop down to 100, and we could always have an event that gives us minus 100 or something like that. So I'm going to hold off for a little bit longer before I increase our stability. Construction 1 is done. I don't think this is where I want to spend the 50% boost. It's too early, I think, to go ahead there. I suspect we'll want to build some synthetic oil things. And you know what? Yeah. I think I want to go and unlock this. I mean, I know we're going to get some oil, but I think we're going to need more than we're going to get through our national ideas. Oh, the Arab Congress. I wonder where I've seen this before. All right. So do I want to change the structure of these forces? Do I want to train them, actually? You're trained. You could go higher. I don't know if we've got much in the way of equipment. Well, we've got some. You know what? Yeah, let's train you. That's going to be all right. Swell. We might want to... I was going to say, do we want to create more troops? No, we have no manpower. Ah! Disturbances in the USA. Prime Minister King... the Prime Minister and King have anxiously observed the political developments concerning our American neighbors. Do we have a Prime Minister? The recent political infighting concerning Bill C-7 has spent much of the government political capital in preparations for a showdown with the Union and Britain claim much of Canada's resources. But King feels something must be done. If a syndicalist wins the upcoming federal election, it will be a terrible threat to our national security. But the America First movement is also highly unpredictable. The crisis is deepening. What should we do? We could send a note to President Hoover, or send a private note to MacArthur, which I think is like a military intervention in the U.S. I actually don't know what the best situation and outcome is for us. I actually don't know what the implications of these two will be. But you know what? Let's take the thing that's like, sounds like more crazy. Let's send a letter to MacArthur instead of to the president. Because we're not necessarily looking forward to stand with the market liberals, presumably, is what the situation is here. Because that's the current president. He's a market liberal. We're not necessarily looking to stand with him specifically. Deutsche Mittelafrika declared war on Portugal. Who? Huh? Whatever. Something somewhere. Ah, over here. Middle Africa. German Middle Africa. Okay. Declared war on Portugal, probably because they want this stuff over here. Seems pretty fair and understandable. What is you? Missing equipment production. We don't have any light tank production, which we need to feed some of those guys. Now, do we want to actually start that? These are all pre-war tanks. And do we even have the resources for it? The answer is really no. We might want to revisit whichever one of these guys has the tank. Oh, there's actually tank divisions is what's going on. Okay. Suppose we could stop them from training, but no, this is fine. We could always disband one, go with one fewer tank divisions or something, free some of them. Our ideology has grown. Due to his popular policies, one of our loyal ministers has managed to strengthen our ideology. With some additional influence, we could use this to increase our popularity. So we could spend political power and increase the popularity of paternal autocrats. So that's what we are. We're a paternal autocrat. Right over here. Paternal autocrat is not a political ideology in the normal sense of the word, but rather a general term for the attitude that these governments hold towards a citizen. The people are all subjects to their leader, either a king or a dictator, and it is the leader's job and duty to lead the state and society towards the righteous and best path, while uniting the people under his benevolent protection. These countries usually have a very authoritarian government, conservative social views, and state-controlled economy. It has been said that the best possible form of government would be a benevolent dictatorship, right? Just in practice, it's obviously not feasible to be maintained, but that's the theme we're going to go for. We know what's best for the country, and we're going to take control of everything and make sure that happens. So I will spend a little political power to increase the popularity of paternal autocrats. So hopefully more people will buy into the idea that this is the right way for a country to be run. We'll see how it goes. We do have a lot of loyalists over here. Which is this. That's right. That's the support for us. 70% support of loyalists towards us. So that's actually pretty good, to be honest. We have purged this loyal opposition. I think that may have been related to that as well. We removed the divided government completely, which was a huge modifier, giving us some substantial penalties, including in political power. So now, even if we have a national focus going on, we're going to gain points. Do I want to rush right to here? If I do, we'll get more recruitable population, which means we'll no longer be at 0 manpower. That being said, we're not about to fight. So I think it's a good idea, actually, for us to go ahead and pick up the research slots and the research council over here. I think that's going to be a great idea to pick that up. We may even consider going and getting some of the industrial kind of things. More national focus, less foreign activities, some static political power. And I'm wondering, and I think I will, in fact, go to Ghost Stability at this point. Again, we could have a crazy event that gives us like negative 100. We're gaining, but you know what? Not that much. Let's wait. Once we complete Found the CBC and we get 60 political power, then we'll go ahead and hit the button. And I'll be quite pleased about that. We're going to have to put another cut in here. Hopefully you're enjoying this. I do guarantee there's going to be some fireworks very soon. Unlike vanilla Hoi 4, this is not a game where you sit on your hands for like 4 years until, you know, the war sort of breaks out in full strength. We will be quite active in some activities relatively soon. Thanks for watching. See you then.